Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction and recovery. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they break the silence and speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey everybody, welcome to Friends in Recovery Podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed.
And I'm Melissa.
Yes.
Hey, Melissa.
The lovely Melissa's with us today.
We got a guest.
Yep, Melissa from, where are you from?
Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
In Genesis
Just a hop,
House.
skip, and a jump away.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So good to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what studio?
Oh, Sweets Podcast Studio. Sweets Production.
Production.
Yeah.
Sweets Production.
Melissa definitely has the voice for this
Oh,
podcast.
thank you.
And you have the face for this too, Mike.
Absolutely. I have the face for the podcast.
That's right. That's right. So how's everybody doing today?
Doing well. How about you, Ed?
Good. Good. We coaxed Melissa to come up here
It's
to
cold up here.
talk
Yeah.
and get on the show, and she's doing stuff outside of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's good. You're growing.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely,
It's important.
absolutely.
Well, a monkey could do this, so, I don't know about your comfort
Yeah, we
zone,
do it,
but-
so.
yeah.
But Melissa, you have some business for us?
I do.
All right.
I do.
All right.
It's
What do you
kind of
got?
fun taking this every day, right? So before
It's
we go
gonna be
any
professionally
further,
done then.
we want to say thank you to Genesis House because
Absolutely.
they do so much for us. I mean, not only do they help keep this show running, set us up in this beautiful studio, but they really believe in our mission and getting the word out there. So we are so grateful to them for that. So in addition to the podcast that you guys do, and I'm just really a guest here, you're the stars, but in addition to this, we have a community around the country here. So we've got events that we do. We've got an event in Voorhees, New Jersey, and an event down in Palm Springs, Florida, and these are super successful. So people come every month, we get together, a really great community. We're starting 2 new events in January that I'm really, really excited about. So we're going to have one up here in Lowell, Massachusetts, so right here where we're filming. And we're also going to add one in Newtown, Connecticut. We're collaborating with the Newtown Parent Connection on
That's
that
right,
one.
yeah,
So we're
yeah.
really excited. We want to keep making these events. We want to bring this community to you.
Right.
So if you are in Boise, Idaho, or you are in Nashville, Tennessee, and you want to create a Friends in Recovery community event, please get in touch with us. We'd love to collaborate with you and get it going.
What about Anchorage, Alaska?
Good.
I would love to visit there, although I might need an extra coat.
Yeah.
I'm barely
sure.
making it here up in Boston.
I'm going to do the Honolulu meeting. So.
Okay, yes, that sounds
And Sweets,
good.
you can go with us, all right?
Send me there.
I'm in.
Okay, good. All right. I kind of figured that, but I figured I'd ask anyway. So
Okay, so just another reminder, our show here, we are powered by your likes, follows, subscribes, and shares,
Very
okay?
good.
Thank you.
So please follow us on social media, share us with your friends, leave us a review, all that stuff.
5-star.
Yeah,
5-star.
5-star says Jersey Ed. So all that stuff helps to get the word out. And we're always looking for people to come on and share their story. So if you're a person in recovery, if you're a professional out in the community, if you're a family member, a loved one of somebody who has struggled with substance abuse or mental health, we'd love to have you on. We want to put the spotlight on your story.
Right. Well, Melissa, other than just having a fabulous presence and
Beautiful voice.
I've never heard anything read this well. So usually it's muttering through.
It usually takes me 10 minutes
That
to
was
read
read
that.
very well.
That was excellent.
We have all this extra time now. What
Yeah,
are we gonna do?
exactly. Yeah. Do we have to do more?
So
Well, we can do a podcast pick of the week if you want.
Okay.
And you denied doing that, so.
You know, that's really your wheelhouse.
I know it
Jersey
is.
Ed,
It is.
so
I know.
Take
I know.
it away.
So good. All right. Well, my podcast pick of the week for this week is That Sober Guy podcast. This guy is kind of a Joe Rogan, Jersey Ed, Podfather mix. That's how I
your
look at him.
favorite,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's Sweets' favorite, Joe Rogan, right?
That's your guy.
Well, I love a lot of his shows. I wouldn't say he's my favorite, but I do like a lot of his shows.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
my favorite is the
Friends in Recovery podcast.
Yeah.
What about Answering the Call?
Answering the Call is my second favorite,
All
and then
right.
I also like Collateral Damage.
You do.
I'm just gonna throw that right in there.
There you go.
And that was one of our podcast picks of the week, too.
It was one of my favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. So that Sober Guy podcast, host is Shane Rammer. Shane Rammer. Very hip, cool, straight to the point, no bullshit podcast. As he says, fun shit. This is all that was on his what he does. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed that podcast. It's light. It's kind of
What were the topics? Do you know?
just recovery.
Oh, it's recovery
It's
based.
him
Okay.
by himself,
Yeah.
just talking and trying to fill time like we do here, like I'm
Yeah.
doing right now,
Yeah.
and just really recovery based. You know, there's a message in between everything. You really have to listen to it.
Yeah.
So it's a podcast you definitely want to kind of concentrate on and listen, maybe at the gym or whatever, and listen to it. But the message is there, no doubt about it. You just got to pick through. You know,
Need some inspiration when you're
It's a
dying on the
lifestyle.
treadmill.
exactly, and he'll give it to you. He's you know, and he definitely lets loose on some F-bombs. Of course, we don't do that here at Friends in Recovery, but
Try not to.
Just this episode? Is that what you're doing?
Keeping it together for me, right?
Absolutely.
oh fuck, really? No,
Oh, there it is.
it's gone.
He broke the seal.
I was
Anyways.
always told vulgarity is ignorance, so I try not to swear myself.
Podfather's
It was,
really
I-
keeping it together
I'm
here.
fucking
with me in the
ignorant then.
room, right?
So fuck you all. Poor Melissa has to hear all our F-bombs. But she said the other day that we curse too much, so
No, not we. No, she didn't say we.
I
She
gotta
said,
rein it in every
Right.
once in a while,
I know. But, you know, I'm going to take advantage of that. You know, you can't tell me what to do.
You can't tell Jerry Ed what to do.
That's
okay?
right,
This
that's
man
right.
listens to podcasts while he's on the treadmill.
That's right. I'm a podcast maniac. So, anyways.
So, Melissa, tell us
yeah.
a little bit about yourself. Tell us
Yeah.
what you do, because I know you're very instrumental at Genesis. All kidding aside, you've really helped this show get to where it's at now, and we're just
Yeah.
starting to grow.
So, I mean, this is really just one little piece of what I do, and I'm so lucky that the folks at Genesis House let us do this. So these podcasts are kind of a labor of love, and we put a lot of work into it to try to connect people with these resources you might not be able to get to Genesis House. Obviously, we want everyone to come down
That's right.
because it's wonderful.
right.
But if you can't get there, this is a really good way to get a little bit of the message.
Absolutely.
So when I'm not doing this, I'm meeting with folks out in the community and people who are in need of services and trying to help them get to where they need to be and help them along that journey.
You have a real nice command presence. You're very smart, obviously very smart, intelligent woman. And is this what you went to school for? What got you in this line of work?
You know, I actually have a background in psychology. And then along the way, you know, as we all have dealt with life, I became informed and educated in other ways. And the stars sort of aligned, and I found myself here being able to help people and bring it all together. And I love it. It's so fun getting to meet new people, getting to hear their stories, getting to share those stories. It's really important to me.
Yeah, you know, Melissa is a perfect example of somebody not in recovery. I just broke your anonymity, but not in recovery, but has the passion for it. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, you got to be in recovery to do this work. You don't. You really don't. You know, we have several people. Stacy, my wife, is also not in recovery, and she has the passion for it. You know, Mike and I and Sweets were blessed to have this passion, and we definitely did our own schooling in it, but you don't really have to be in recovery to do this. Is that something you're finding?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in order for us to really make leeway and kind of really reduce the stigma out there, we all need to work together, right? So recovery isn't just something that you guys deal with on your own. This is something we're all dealing
Collaborative.
with
Yeah.
in our
Absolutely.
communities.
Absolutely.
It's not an isolated incident.
Nope.
And I really, you know, I believe in promoting health and mental wellness for the entire community. And I love the recovery community. It's so inspiring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's your theory on spirituality versus
Religion.
Wow,
Good
next
one.
question.
That was good, Mike. Good. Is that going to be our show? We're going to do spirituality versus religion?
I think we should segue right into that.
Absolutely. Do you have any definitions on that?
Wow. I'm happy you asked because a little bird put some definitions right in front of me here. So I haven't read them yet. So you're going to catch me reading on the air.
And that's my chicken scratch that I wrote down too. So
here's what Jersey Ed found by way of Google.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so religion and spirituality, are they the same? We've got some definitions here for you. So religion is the belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power. So this is, especially a god, or it could be gods, right?
Right, sure.
So what's spirituality and how is that different? And I actually did read this definition and I loved it. Spirituality, the quality of being concerned with a human spirit as opposed to just material physical things. So you're really, spirituality, you're connecting with the soul of your fellow human being.
Sure.
Sure.
Not necessarily under the guidance of a god.
Right. Yeah. I think religion to me is just, when I hear both of these, and if I had to give a definition off the top of my head, religion would be a being. It would be a specific. It would definitely be a specific whatever, a being, an idol,
a god,
or a god. And spirituality can just come from within. It can be, to me, I think nature. I think the stars, the moon, or just life in general, a raindrop or a leaf or anything that, just might bring pleasure to your to your soul.
Well, spirituality, I think I'm more of the spiritual kind of guy. I do believe in God and I do believe in all that, but spirituality, I like what it says about the soul. And this program for me, and I can tell the passion in this room, as far as Sweets and Mike, I think it comes from our soul. And I don't think because we were soul sick all those years ago, and to repair our soul, I think, can a God do it? Yes, but I think you have to dig even deeper in your spirituality, and really kind of fix that soul sickness so you can recover, and then maybe believe in a God after that, or at least the God that you understand and how you understand it. If you don't fix your soul, you're fucked. It's just not going to work, I don't think.
There he goes again. We should get a count. We should get a count.
We're gonna get a jar.
A big jar up here for everybody's watching.
I saw a bumper sticker once that said, "We're not human beings searching for a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings searching for the human experience." And I thought that was like, for a bumper sticker, it was pretty deep.
Yeah.
But it really hit home for me, because spirituality for me was about searching for that human experience. Trying to connect with humanity and just be a better person.
Yeah.
5 friends of mine died in a plane crash, 1994. 5 Lowell police officers, and 2 of them were my closest friends. It was a very horrific, plane crash. They were coming back from a hunting trip. And they died, they perished. And, it was just very traumatic. We had to go through 5 funerals in 5 days and just try to come together as a group. And I guess a woman, I don't even know where she was from, she sent a book to the police station. And I was getting the mail for the union at the time. And the book was called Embraced by the Light. And it was a paperback. And it was probably 120 pages. It was very small, but basically the long and the short of it is she was an American Indian woman, a mother of 7, and she died for 28 minutes on the operating table. She had a heart problem, and she goes on this journey, and she, just as best she can remember, she had an out-of-body experience, and then she's on this journey going at light speed through this tunnel, and I mean it's really deep. But what I got out of it is we are spirits. The real life in us is spiritual, and the reason, being a cop, being to so many sudden deaths, seeing so many corpses, people that are dead, that have been dead for days. I mean, you might love somebody, but after you've been dead a couple of days, you're not going to be hugging that corpse. And if you do, you're not going to be hugging it for long, because all you have is rotting flesh. And it just meant so much to me that the spirit that she discussed, that she talked about, that she described vividly, it just really made me start believing. And this was I was probably, 12, 14 years sober at the time. But my belief changed that after reading that book. And I wouldn't be surprised if the God of my understanding was a woman or a different type of person or being. I just don't know. But I definitely am a spiritual person as well.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like what you said, Mike, because you know what? You can't, like when a family member dies or a loved one dies or whatever, you don't go and hug that body, and it's the soul of the person that you love. I know I connect with the soul of a person. I connect with people because you see them.
Spirit.
Yeah. You just connect, especially with family members, and my grandmother. I still believe she's around. I still believe she's always watching over me. My grandfather, and it's not the physical body. It's all the memories. It's all the good times. That's all spirituality. It's all in, it's all there, but the other hand, if I'm going to play the devil's advocate, on the other hand, the religion part, I think, got me to understand the spiritual part. So without the religion, I went to Catholic school 8 years, and we did worship the crosses and the figures and the altar and the communion and all that. But I think that helped me understand later on in life, in my recovery, more spirituality. Understanding that there's more than just a cross on the wall or go up for communion and say your confession. I think that's I think it's a step or a journey into spirituality. What do you guys think? I don't know.
I think it's really interesting. The Podfather here was saying that he had an evolution in his thought 12 to 14 years into your recovery.
Right.
And I think that that's a hang-up that a lot of people have when they first get into recovery. And let's talk about that after the break.
Yeah, we're going to take a break here.
Taking a break. We're definitely going to talk about that. Friends in Recovery podcast. We'll be right back with the intelligent, witty, and very lovely Melissa.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, welcome back, Friends in Recovery podcast. I am the Podfather.
And Jersey Ed.
Hey, and I'm Melissa.
Yeah.
I need a nickname.
That's right. We're going to think of a good one.
Yeah.
And we got who over here on the
Sweets.
doing the operations?
We all hide behind names.
Yeah, we like it though.
That's weird, isn't it?
Before the break, we were talking
Our masks.
Our masks.
We were talking spirituality versus religion, and Melissa, you were saying.
Yeah, so I was saying I think it's really, really interesting that the Podfather had this change in thought 12 to 14 years into recovery. And I think that this definition of religion or spirituality might, give someone pause as they first enter a recovery program.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of room for flexibility, even, after you've started what that definition is over the years, a decade in. There's a lot of flexibility and evolution of thought that occurs. What do you think, Sweets?
I would say the same. My understanding of spirituality has evolved over the last decade. I went from, being real, dismissive, to it. That I had spent most of my life not having a connection to people and humanity. I had spent a lot of time separating myself from them so that I could do the things that I was doing. Like you can't, as an addict, you can't do the things you do and still care about how people think and feel. You can't run around committing crimes and stealing and lying and living a disingenuous, dishonest way of life and be spiritual. So that's why we say we're spiritually bankrupt when we come into recovery, is that you start from zero. And so I was real dismissive of the idea that I would ever have that, because I never had it. And so I had to go back to when I was a kid, and that doesn't translate into adult life. My 14-year-old version of spirituality is not the same as my 40-year-old version.
Did you know what spirituality is when you were 14?
Yeah, I was baptized.
Okay.
I was my father, his side brought me to church religiously, pun intended.
Yeah.
You know, and my mother brought me to church occasionally, so you know, I had a taste of it. I had read the Bible. I went to youth Bible studies and stuff like that, and so I understood it, and I understood religion. And I guess that's where we're talking about the difference between the two. Is like I understood religion, and I knew who God was as they were explaining it to me. I knew that religion was something that these people got together and believed in. I wanted to believe in it, but even at a young age, I didn't know if I did. And then in recovery, you know, I was not a big fan of religion because I saw religion as something that was like this organized human thing, you know, and it was fallible. It was a broken system that I wasn't comfortable getting into. This is my personal opinion. And but spirituality is something I could dig into. Spirituality was like, you know, just being a better person, connecting to humanity, doing the next right thing, caring about the well-being of others. And that to me, that's my recovery. That's spiritual connection. And that's why I was saying, like, we're all spiritual beings searching for a human connection. And in recovery, I found that in the fellowship, in my helping another person, helping families. So it was, for me, that was the difference.
Well, I think we can form. I'm sorry, Podfather Mike.
Yeah.
I think we can form spirituality into who we want to be. Where religion, you have to see that cross or that
A little more
that
pliable.
figure. Yeah, exactly. So your spirituality might be different than mine, but
Right.
if we both grew up Catholic, we both knew exactly, you know, when the mass starts, when communion is, when Our Father is said, and blah blah blah, and so on. So I feel the same way as you, Sweets. It was hard to kind of buy into that, and I really didn't even know what spirituality was when I was younger. Just not until I got into recovery, really.
Right.
Not until I read this definition. I mean, seriously. I mean, but I do live a spiritual life versus a religious life. But
Well, I just want to add to that real
Yeah.
ck. Just and I'm sorry, Paul.
No,
I'll
no,
get
no,
back to you,
fine,
but
fine.
what you're saying just made me think about the fact that we talk all the time, and I'm glad that you're not in recovery and you can speak on this. Maybe you can answer this question for me, but we speak all the time about the fact that because we've been through what we've been through, right, that we're able to make that spiritual connection via the recovery process, right? And that if you think about it, the people who don't go through what we go through, you know, that maybe they get to use the organization of religion to find that same spiritual connection because they don't have the benefit of what we went through. Well, I call it a benefit, but you know, so for us, it's I don't necessarily need church or the structure of religion to help me find that spiritual connection, but people who are not going through the same stuff I went through maybe could use it. I mean, we're all getting to the same point, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in the AA literature, it talks about spiritual awakening, having a spiritual awakening. And, you know, my youngest daughter is very, very, she's not spiritual, well, she's not religious, but she's very spiritual. And she had religion growing up. But more importantly, karma is her thing. And, you know, I'm a big believer in karma. And only because of her, you know. But I know over the years, things have happened to me that I could have been killed. I could be dead, you know, and up close and personal, you know, two particular times I think of. And, you know, I know that I've helped people over the years and I've gone out of my way. I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying I have done that. But it's come back to me when my daughter breaks down in the middle of Boston and some guy stops and changes her tire and doesn't rob or rape her or try to, you know, to hurt her in any way other than just to help her, you know. And I'm like, well, the God of my understanding, I'm thanking that, that being or whatever it is. It's not so much. But the other side of it is there's a grotto in Lowell. It's gorgeous. Jack Kerouac, the great poet, the great beat writer from Lowell. I'm really into Jack Kerouac readings and everything. And this grotto was his favorite place in Lowell to go sit and meditate and just to a lot of his writings. The Dharma Bums, I believe it was called. He talks about this one specific place. But it's a Catholic grotto. There's the Stations of the Cross, and there's a huge crucifix, and there's a grotto with candles in. I used to go there once a week for 30 years and light a candle. And it wasn't so much the Catholic part of it. It was just my solitude, my quiet place, and I was just there for gratitude. Never asked for anything for myself. I was just paying gratitude and thanking and maybe praying for other people, you know. So
well, Podfather Mike, being a cop, you probably have to straddle both sides of this because you know, I've never gone out and put myself in a life or death situation as any first responder, and I know that's another show. But you being a first responder, you got to have a very strong belief in God to help you get through whatever is going on out there, and spirituality, just everyday living life. It sounds like is that something that you? It sounds like what you just said is you're kind of walking both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, well, in the Catholic religion, Saint Michael is the patron saint of police officers, because he was like a police officer, and he was God's security up in heaven, supposedly, or whatever you read.
Protector.
Yeah, protector, exactly. So, I mean, I've always believed in Saint Michael, Saint Anthony, and Saint Christopher. I named my son after Saint Christopher, which sounds odd, but that was my thing. And none of my kids have ever gotten a car or a license without a Saint Christopher medal.
Oh, yeah.
And then they weren't brought up Catholic; they were brought up Baptist, but they have a little bit of both, So I do have that part of it, but there's another part that's just so far-fetched. Sometimes you read and you're like, oh, that doesn't really sound like that could happen. But I don't doubt it, but I'm just more into the spirituality, because it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's more understanding to me.
So can you have both?
It's a good question.
Can you be a religious person? Can you follow a religious dogma? And then can you also subscribe to spirituality?
I'll chime in and say I think I can.
Yes, and well, I had it both probably big in parts of my life. The religion, just like you, Sweets, in early childhood, going to church and all that. But I say my prayers every morning. I go to church anymore. I don't look at idols, crosses or whatever anymore. But I do wear a cross. But spirituality is more prevalent in my life. Religion, I don't think I could live without spirituality right now. I would be back using again. That's number one. Religion, I don't want to say it takes a back burner, but it's not prevalent in my life like spirituality. So spirituality keeps me who I am today and keeps me going. What about you, Melissa?
So I guess my question is, the religion is the peace, the gathering at church, or is the religion, sort of the instruction manual that you follow?
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit of everything, but we have gatherings here. We gather at AA meetings, but passing the plate, passing the basket, it's all part of a celebration or a religious event. I think that's completely different than spirituality.
I think it's personal preference.
I guess that too.
I see a lot of my friends in recovery that. Friends in recovery. You heard what I did there?
There you go.
Podcast.com.
You have an idea, man.
Yeah. I see a lot of my friends in recovery that, they get well, and in addition to the spiritual part of their recovery, they're also going to church and stuff like that, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think it's just personal preference. I mean, when it was described as a relationship with a higher power of my understanding, it became the voice in my head. I pray every night, and that's my. I just call it an obsession at this point. I feel like if I don't pray at night, something bad's going to happen. Right.
Same here.
I've been doing it for years, and things are working out, so I'm just going to keep doing it.
Don't fuck with it.
Yeah, it's work. I mean, it's fine, but I don't feel the need to go to church to have that connection. Whereas some people might only feel that connection if they go to church, or some people might want that additional connection, or whatever it might be. I think it's just personal preference. You can definitely have both.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate what Melissa said, because I understand, going to church and, people that, as a cop, I've seen a lot people doing a lot of things they shouldn't be doing. I don't judge anyone, because I've done a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. But there are certain people that get recognized, and they get Man of the Year, Woman of the Year, and they're active in their church, and you read their obituaries, and they were active in their church, and the same guy was having oral sex with a prostitute, and people would I never ever try to intervene on anybody unless there was a severe crime being committed. And again, I never judged anybody, and I've seen a lot of things I never told people about. But my point is, I really believe that the praying part, to me, is an obsession too. When you just said that, I can't go to sleep without getting on my knees. Sometimes 2 or 3 times, because I'm like, did I really do it, man?
Did I do it right?
Everything
Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Even like you were saying, going to church and all that, I don't go to church, but I do a long run almost every Sunday. That's my church. That's my time with God. When you're running 10, 15 miles at a clip, you better have a God.
Yeah,
They're going to help you do that fucking thing, man.
That's
It's tough,
Yeah.
So I do get that that runner's high, and then and also with God is with me. I talk to God. I sort things out in my mind. On that long run on the weekends. And
church is where you make it, man.
Exactly.
If running is your church, the gym is my church.
There you go.
Some people, church is their church. My mother's church is her church.
Yeah.
She works there.
Then that's okay. Right. Yeah,
She's probably there right now.
Yeah, I met your mother a few weeks back, and a police officer had taken his own life out here in the town of Beverly, and I'd never met your mother before, and I just felt this connection right away. Mm-hmm. Just the way she was
a kindred
talking.
spirit.
Right. And it was empathetic.
That's the spiritual part.
And I've been to funerals for police officers who commit suicide, and I could just feel her pain, and she actually was emotional. I was getting emotional listening to her. Right. And, to me, that's a gift. When you can stop and put everybody in front of you, total strangers, I hear these people complain about these people bumming money on the streets. Just think for a moment if you had to do that. And you can say, well, maybe they don't have to do it. Doesn't matter. They're doing it. And, to me, I have too much humility. I couldn't do that. I'd starve before I'd be out there. But I get yelled at for throwing a buck out the window or giving someone $1, but I just feel like I should be doing that. I'm there for that reason. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy, but I've seen it come back. And karma to me is something that's new again. I have friends that are of a different faith that are so into karma, and I really believe that what you give, you'll get back.
Yeah, but that's more spiritual than religious. You're not giving that guy $1 because he's going to go to church or going to go to
the
basket.
This is the teachings of religion, though.
It is right. The 10 Commandments. I mean, who doesn't think that the 10 Commandments are a good way to live?
It's a good guidebook.
Didn't was it Thomas Paine, I think, took the Bible and made the good faith and moral teachings of Jesus Christ. He took out all the miracles and stuff, like all the stuff that religion is based on, and it was just like, be a good person,
stripped
do the
down.
next right thing.
Right.
It took all the lessons out. I mean, I'm not promoting the book. I'm just saying, I know that somebody stripped it down, and if you take the organized religion part out of it, that spirituality is the base that it's built on, the foundation that it's built on, and I think that's really the message. Probably even a takeaway just from today is be a good person, do the next right thing.
Wherever you come from, whatever religion you follow,
doesn't matter.
We're all
and they're all based on that premise. Just be a good person, do the next right thing, help your fellow humans, and we'll do fine.
But if you think about it, religion is more of a community. Your mom's at church now. You said she's fellowship. It's just like us at AA. So
just like us right here.
That's like us right here. Yeah, even you guys listening. This is a fellowship you guys are listening to. But I think it's more of however you can get to whatever point you're looking for in your life, and if it's more religious based or more spiritual based, or don't forget, we can't leave our agnostic and our atheists out either. We have them listening to this show, so they may be more on the side of spirituality, and than religion, and so there's a whole different world of people out there. And I mean, obviously, all of us in this room right now, we're not either one of those. We're more kind of on the religious spiritual side. I mean, I don't.
If your belief in the big spaghetti monster in the sky makes you happy and it makes you a better person, then so be it.
That is it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
No.
Or the great pumpkin.
The great pumpkin.
Just pick one.
Yeah. Yeah. You remember going to meetings and saying, "Hey, believe in this can," until you know something higher, better than you. Yeah.
So you can start from there. So someone who says, "I have no belief system. I do not believe in a God," and they're adamant about it, they would be welcomed into AA.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Agnostics, atheists, absolutely.
Yeah. Atheists. There's a whole section in the book, We the Agnostic, and there's an atheist.
It's a chapter in the book because people struggle with it.
Yeah.
It's a real issue.
That's fine. And you don't have to believe to get the rewards of this program, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to have the guilt, because we tell you right from the beginning, just believe we believe. Just believe we believe. That's all you have to believe. You don't have to have a specific.
No, not at all. No. It's your program. I don't care if you're not in recovery, if you're in recovery, whatever it is. We all have to believe in something to get us somewhere. Because we talk about our struggles in life. We wouldn't change things, whatever the case may be. But the normies out there, they have struggles. The normies. What's up, normies?
Yeah,
that's Melissa.
Is that my nickname now?
I thought he was
normie. She's a normie. Welcome, normie.
I thought Normie was on Cheers.
Yeah, but they have struggles too.
Yeah.
It's we tote our recovery and our use and everything, but people do have struggles besides us, and they have to believe in. And Melissa, you have to believe in something too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I
don't
think
say you
that
have to, but,
you go. this recovery experience, I think you said, Sweets, these people have been through things. They've seen every side of it. And whether you're in recovery or not, you've been to that dark place.
Oof.
No one hasn't.
Nope.
No one hasn't.
Exactly.
And I think that if we can all kind of, acknowledge that together, and that's sort of the common thread that ties us. We've been in that dark place, but man, we've seen some really incredible things as well.
Skeletons in everybody's closet.
That's right. And people kill over religion. I mean, if you don't believe in certain people's religion, and you're in their country or you're in the wrong place, bad things can happen. And that still goes on today. So, we're very fortunate that we live in a country where we can all celebrate whatever we want to celebrate and not get ridiculed, because just imagine if you had to not have a religion or not be able to pray or to worship the way you wanted to. I mean, it's pretty scary when you think of it.
Yeah, but I think if you just worship a religious fact, artifact, or a religion, there's no spirituality there. There's no, you're not deep. You're not getting into who you are. You're masking yourself with the church. You're masking yourself with the idol, with a god.
That's an opinion, because people that are deep into religion, like maybe Mike's mom, is just an example. I mean, I don't think they'd agree with that personally.
No, but I think I only met her once, but there's definitely spirituality with your mom, no doubt about it. I mean, she's definitely a spiritual person.
I think what you're getting at, and I'll just tell you what I'm hearing. Is that there is a difference between religious and spiritual.
Yes.
And that you can be both, and you can have one without the other. And there are people who are very religious. I mean, if you think about it, more people have died in the name of God, a God,
That's what I'm
throughout
saying.
the centuries and eons.
Yeah, but is that a way to live? I'm gonna die for my God.
No, but I'm just saying that you can be connected to your higher power religiously, and you can worship that idol or that thing and not be connected to humanity. You can be so caught up in your religion and not respect others. Spirituality is about connecting and transcending all the religions. And so I'm a big fan of the spiritual side of this.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that religion isn't there. You can have both. But I know that in recovery, I have to have spirituality.
Yeah.
Religion without spirituality in recovery would be a mess for me.
Dead. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with you 100%. So.
Well, I think this was one heck of a show.
Wow, man, that was pretty deep. God.
And we had all this time when we went through our business stuff, right?
That's right. Exactly. We might have you on here more, Melissa. Well, that was a good show, guys.
Yeah,
Melissa, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We
Thank
appreciate
you so much for
it.
having me on.
Sweets, what did you think?
I thought it was fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm glad we picked that topic, because it's a topic I talk about all the time.
Right.
Yeah, well, I was getting sideways looks when I brought this up, Podfather.
You what?
Well, that's what our listeners want, topics that give sideways looks.
Exactly. I bet you're going to get a lot of emails about this, and a lot of people are going to say, "Well, you're wrong about religion. You're right about this." But
let us know if we're wrong.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Tell us why.
Yeah.
Email us.
Yeah, your
Let's think
opinion
on
isn't
it,
wrong.
and our opinion may evolve.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Friends in Recovery podcast.
Stay sober, everybody.
Thank you.
That concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for supporting those on the path to recovery and for keeping this valuable resource free for our Friends in Recovery community. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you're interested in becoming a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. If you can't get enough of Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, you can catch them on Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast, available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube.